Hey guys, how's it going? Spidey's back here for another video. And today we're gonna talk about a very important thing for the automotive hobby. That topic being tools. For a good few of my videos, it was install videos, talking about videos where I was installing a part on my Sentra, or I was showing you how to do something on the Sentra. And tools are a pretty important thing when it comes to working on cars, modifying cars, etc. So the question that popped into my mind was, what are the best tools I can recommend for the automotive enthusiast? So the first few things I'm gonna bring up and show you are absolute necessities, in my opinion. They're not really ranked in an order of get this one now and then get this one later. They're all a get it right now type thing. And then I'll show you some stuff afterwards that are, you don't have to get them at this moment, but I would definitely recommend them for the future. So these are all my opinion. If you have questions, suggestions, additions to what I said, let me know. I want to see them. So without further ado, let's get into it. First thing I highly suggest getting, this was actually the first thing I ever bought on the tool truck, and you're gonna hear tool truck or Harbor Freight a lot in this video. You're gonna want a flashlight, a good flashlight. This one is magnetic. It's not the brightest, but it's there. Then I also have, where'd the hail? Two that I use the most frequently, which is this blue one that I got from Matco, and then this guy that I got from Matco that I absolutely love. It's the brightest one I have by far. A couple brightness settings. It's got a UV light, and I can use this for looking for dye from AC systems, or if you put dye in engine oil to find an oil leak. And it also has a laser pointer. The laser pointer is the thing I never knew I wanted until I had it, because it's a lot easier to show someone what part of a car is faulty. And by just having this thing just pointing in the engine bay or pointing at the suspension component, or if you just want to fuck with the coworker across the shop. So flashlight is the first thing I ever bought because I didn't realize how much I was going to use it. Anytime I have a multi-point inspection, which we do one on every car we get, I think every shop is like that, use the flashlight for looking in engine bays, looking behind the valve cover, looking behind the engine, under the engine, and the wheels, wheel wells underneath the car. I swear, my flashlight is probably in my hand every 30 seconds. That's how often I use it. One of my favorite lights I've gotten so far, and you've probably seen this one on Instagram a lot, is this guy. Feature I love about this is if you push the button on the front, turns on and off. It is a bit sensitive though, like I can be underneath a car and I can just move my head around the lift and it'll sense the lift and then it'll shut itself off. So that gets a bit annoying, but when your hands are all grubby, greasy, you don't really want to touch much of anything that you don't have to. Very nice feature to have. So lights are one of the things I recommend the most for working on cars. Second one, and well, this is the last light I have. The tip is also magnetic. Almost all my flashlights are magnetic. Got this guy here. You can lengthen or shorten the beam. I got this kind of as a joke off the Matco truck, because not only does it extend, the tip of it bends also. And this thing is actually extremely useful for me, because when you drop a socket or an extension or a bolt or something into the engine bay and it lands all the way at the bottom on the subframe underneath something, even having the ability to stick a bendable stick down there with a light on it essentially is worth every penny, in my opinion. I would definitely get that. Something to add on to that is magnets. Now where the fuck is it? Well, this one has a magnetic tip at the end of it, which I forgot to mention. So I have this one, and then I have a regular extendable magnet, which is actually this guy here. Regular extendable magnet. I use that almost every day, which means I drop shit a whole lot. Don't be like me. Dropping the punchline. Moving on. These are pliers for the black body clips that you always see on a lot of vehicles nowadays too. Trying to think. The Sentra, I know for a fact, use those black body clips that I'm referring to because they hold on the grill and I believe a portion of the front bumper next to the grill also. Basically, you got these guys all over your engine bay or the smaller version of these. You take these pliers and you break it right off. Worth every penny. Got it from Harbor Freight for like $5 and has been an absolute lifesaver to me at times. It's a lot better than having to take a little trim pry tool to get those up, get a screwdriver, or try using your bare hands, which if you have the finger strength to pull out those clips with your bare hands, I'm jealous. Another thing, and I feel like I really should add this on later, but considering how much I have been kind of using these are kind of nice. And it's just a nice tool to have in general. These are exhaust hanger pliers. You open it up, you put the exhaust hanger right here, and then this pushes the hanger out of the bushing physically. And it's a lot easier than having to take like a pry bar or something and pry those things out. The secret for that is you lubricate it before you put it back in. Haha. So definitely a very, very good tool to have. Next thing to mention, and I wish I had gotten this tool that I'm about to show you before, the one after this. These are, I believe they're called slip joint pliers, and I got it from Snap-on. Snap-on claims these are the only 3-position pliers. Well, the first 3-position pliers ever made. We can all call immense bullshit on them. But I mean, they do their job. They grip fairly well. I mean, they do what you want pliers to do. These pliers I just recently got from Matco are worth every penny. I do not know how much they were. I got them to the point to where I don't want to know how much something is, depending on what it is. What I like about these pliers so much is you can see the slots here. You can see the one horizontally and the one diagonally. What I like about these and what their intended purpose is hose clamps. They fit perfectly into these little slots and you're not going to lose grip on them. Not the way you will on these style pliers where that's just not going to happen. They're not going to come out. There are so many situations where I wish I had a pair of these pliers so they didn't come off and then they smack you on your fingernail and then you're screaming all the cuss words. So you can also use them like this, which has been very helpful to me as well. I don't know what other company makes these. I know there are other companies that probably make them. I would just call them hose clamp pliers. So just look it up online or whatnot. They are worth every single dime to me. That is not in my opinion. I think that is factual, how useful they have been. So those are for hose clamp pliers. To go with the hose clamp pliers are, well, I guess you could say more hose clamp pliers. So I got this off the Cornwell truck and this retailed for like 300 bucks. I got it on a sale for $150 and has been worth everything to me. Get a smaller set of very thin pliers. Just another set of different shaped pliers. This is a long cutter, and I've only used it once, and I really can't remember what I used it for. Now, the big reason I got this set was long set of pliers, long set of curved pliers. These are a long set of wide pliers, and I haven't been able to. Actually, in all honesty, that's the first time I saw they were wide pliers. I never used them before. So these are for getting hoses off. So the reason I am a humongous fan of pliers specifically for hoses is I have used those slip joint green pliers that I just showed you for trying to get hoses off, and these are the big boys right here. Great for heater core hoses. Those green slip joint pliers, what I do not like about them is you could try to grip a hose right here and do that to break them loose, but what you really risk, and I've done this before, those slip joint pliers, what you can risk is I have torn hoses before. And if you tear a coolant hose, obviously you're gonna get a coolant leak, and you might not know about it now, but you're gonna find out about it later if you're a good tech. And after you perform the work, let's say you bled, let's say you drained and then filled up a cooling system again, and you had to take the hose off. Well, if you're good tech and you recheck your work afterwards, you're gonna find a coolant leak that you didn't have before, and that could suck, especially if you do not have that hose in stock. That sucks. And then the thing that's gonna kick your ass a little bit more, because it can be a little bit harder to find, is PCV hoses. If you rip it, if you're lucky, you're gonna hear the leak before you send it back off to the customer. But if you're not lucky, you can get some drivability problems and not know about them. And that just sucks. So that's why I like those pliers, for that exact reason. So, not the best hose, and I keep spare hose for the reason I just said. These, it works, but if you tear it, that's gonna suck. Now, if you use something like these to loosen it up, it fits much better around the circumference of the hose, and there's almost no risk of it tearing off. I say almost no risk because there's always a risk that something can go wrong, especially depending on how old the hose is. If it's already deteriorated on the inside of it, stuff like that, there's always a risk something can break off. But I would rather pick almost more than an absolute. So those hose clamp pliers to me are absolute necessity. I need to stop saying hose clamp. They're just hose pliers. Those, I'm pretty sure you can get those at Harbor Freight. Like I said, I got this from Cornwall, and I kind of wish I had gotten them from Harbor Freight because they were cheaper than the 150 bucks I spent on them. Hurts a little bit, but they saved my life enough times to where I don't worry about it as much. Next thing I totally recommend is a good socket and ratchet set. So I tried getting green tools for a while because I thought that maybe getting a bright green tool would show up in the engine bay better when I'm going to look for it. And for the most part, I have been right, but then when they start to get dirty, obviously it's harder to find it. This set is everything from an 8 to a 19 millimeter, and I have this short ratchet that I don't use all that much, to be honest. And then I have this longer ratchet right here, and that has the flex head. Use it every single day. I absolutely love this set, and if it ever broke or I lost it, I would buy it again. So with those types of ratchets comes longer ratchets. I have this long guy from Mac Tools. I'm not a fan of the tooth count. It kind of sounds like it's broken to me. but this has been great for those really tight bolts, brake caliper bolts specifically also, where they're on super tight and you need a breaker bar of some sort. I don't have a true breaker bar, so I've used this instead until I go get a breaker bar, because I'm a bit of a cheap fuck in some ways. I also have this one from Snap-on. It used to always be my go-to for oil changes. But what I like about this one is the head rotates, which it looks like a gimmick, but then when you realize that you can kind of use a screwdriver motion on it when you're trying to get a fastener off, it's really nice. The ratcheting mechanism is very nice. I'm a fan of this one. I just don't use this one as much, particularly because this was my designated oil change ratchet. I'm not doing as many oil changes anymore, so now it just kind of sits in my box and it looks pretty. This one is, that's my 3/8 breaker bar, the Mac Tools one. This one from Harbor Freight is my 1/2-inch breaker bar. I like this one a lot. I actually love the fact that the handle does that. The tooth count is horrible. It sounds like it's gonna break too. But for I think I paid like 20 bucks for this at Harbor Freight. So not bad at all. Not to mention the warranty from Harbor Freight has been very good so far. It's never given me a problem. Which leads me to this one I have from Harbor Freight too. This side is 1/4 inch and this side is 3/8. And it also has that extendable ratchet handle. I can't think of a single time I've used this. I bought it because I thought it looked cool. But ratchets are definitely a very good thing to have. This isn't the video where I'm gonna recommend specific tool brands. I'm just gonna tell you what I have and then you can go out and get it. If you'd like to see a video on my experience with different brands and who I would go with, let me know. The last ratchet I have that I have actually never used is the golden ratchet from Icon. My dad got that for me as a Christmas present. And it gets a lot of laughs in the shop and it gets its attention. What impressed me with the ratchet, which makes me want to try the Icon brand, is it is a 90 tooth ratchet. And when I looked it up online, it was like 50 bucks. And it is such a nice feeling ratchet. It feels like a Snap-on. And that is why I contemplate getting a regular version of that ratchet just to use for around the shop, because I'm very impressed with them. So on the subject of ratchets, actually I'll mention that tool later, but unless something did jump out at me. You're gonna need a breaker bar eventually. This one's from Matco. It's bigger than you're probably gonna need. If you're in your parking lot and you're using a breaker bar this big, I have pity for you, because I don't want to know what the hell you're fucking with that requires a breaker bar that long. And yes, I do have longer ones. So this is a bit more of a reasonable sized breaker bar. Let's see, I've used breaker bars by coilovers. When I installed them, I used it to push down the lower control arm so I could actually get the coilover in. It was useful for, I'm trying to think of the center specifically when I used these. When I did the polyurethane motor mounts, the lower motor mounts, I was able to use the breaker bar to help push the motor forward. I believe I pushed it forward just because of how that engine bay is designed. So that way I could get the 3 bolts I believe it is in. Then the top end, the stock motor mount, the bolt for it is off-centered. And on the Ford Focus bushing, it is centered. So you actually have to push the engine back physically a little bit. Scary as hell going to throw that thing in, because it kind of feels like it's crop threading, but it's actually not. But those are the situations I have needed breaker bars for the Centrum. You could get various different sizes. Just go to Harbor Freight and get some different size breaker bars. I got everything from the length of my forearm to almost my entire height. One of my favorite tools from Harbor Freight again, but just in general, I have locking extensions. These lock onto the socket, and for the most part, they do a really great job of not letting go. Once you've finally gotten your socket onto the bolt you're trying to get off, and then you pull back to go readjust it, and then the socket comes off, and then it falls into the engine bay, and it's really fucking annoying, and it can piss you the fuck off. So having these types of extensions are awesome, and I've put a pretty decent amount of torque on them as well, so I'm actually very, very impressed with them. I would definitely maybe get impact locking extensions, because impact sockets and extensions are stronger than chrome. I believe they're stronger than chrome, but they're also softer for that reason. But totally recommend a set of these. I have them for almost all sizes. So I have the long guy with the shorter guy, with the medium guy, with the smaller guy, and I think it was all in all like 20 fucking bucks. So that's all I can really think of in terms of go out and get it now type stuff. There's other things like screwdrivers and whatnot, but I honestly don't even use screwdrivers all that much, which I guess it's not really funny to me, but I don't really use screwdrivers all that much, so that's why I never recommended anything like that. I'm also not going to be recommending impact tools in this video, which at least air-powered ones, because it's really hard to use air-powered stuff. This is kind of the start of get it later type stuff. This is, I guess you call it a bit driver. I'm not sure what the true terminology is, but it's got 1, 2, 3 different torque settings. 1, 2, 3. And then the fourth one is kind of a tighten setting in terms of it's going to start off super strong at first, but then it's going to slow down once your fastener starts to tighten up. I can't tell you how many times I've seen 1 million subscribers, YouTubers, working on these $60,000, $80,000, $90,000 cars, and they're trying to get super fast with it because they're trying to build it for SEMA or whatnot, and they're just ratcheting away with their hand ratchet, and I'm here like, my guy, if you can afford a Mark V Supra or a Lamborghini, you can afford a fucking bit driver from Milwaukee or DeWalt or Makita or whatever your preference is. But that is one of the best tools I have ever bought. I bought it not too long after my career started, but bulletproof. I have dropped it. I have accidentally submerged it in coolant and it won't die. On that same note, I've also got a 3/8 electric ratchet, and my most recent addition to the family, I am so glad I finally got, is my 1/4 inch electric ratchet. The 3/8 is pure torque. If you have like a rusty-ish 3/8 millimeter bolt, has all the torque in the world to get that thing out. The 1/4 inch, it has a good amount of torque for the smaller fasters. Like, it almost feels overwhelming how much torque it has for those. But it's part of why I wanted it, along with the fact that it's been very compact. I can get the head of it into tighter spaces, which has been very, very useful. So, again, this is more on a needed later type things, but it's going to be, I'm going to combine it into one tool, and I've used this one tool so many different times now. It is from Mac Tools, and it is an extractor set. So trying to think if I have a specific bolt, which this probably isn't gonna match up, but it's the best that I have at the moment. So, you know, this one's pretty relatively straight, but then this one, you can see the edges are sharper and there are more to cut into the metal. Hex heads and star bits are some of the worst ones that you can round off, and they can fuck up your day when you do it. So I definitely recommend an extractor set later on in the future, because it can absolutely save your life in a bad situation, which on that note about those also leads to this set that I also get at Harbor Freight. These extractors for sockets, bolts. Haven't used them all that much, which is a very good thing, but having them is an absolute lifesaver. You know, it's just one of those get it things. It was like 10, 15 bucks. And they've actually been pretty fucking durable for what they are. My last big one that I wanted to mention, not a get right now thing by any means. This is a thread chaser set. So I got this from Matco. You're gonna eventually get to the point to where you've accidentally cross-threaded something in. Usually, at least on, well, it depends on the type of bolt and what type of situation you're in. Usually, you can, if you realize you're cross-threading it, you can take it back out, and then when you go to push it back in, it'll just rethread itself, essentially. But there's going to be times when you fuck that thing up, and embarrassingly, I have cross-threaded caliper bolts to where it goes to thread into the brake caliper, which tons of not fucking fun. But it was such an absolute lifesaver to have that kit on me. So, I totally recommend it for engine bays, suspension components, braking components, anything. So it's not a get right now type thing by any means, but it's a get it eventually, or get it when you cross-thread something type thing. So that's all I can really think of right now for you guys. I just wanted to get some sort of video out for you, and that's what I feel to be a rather important video topic to discuss. So, big announcement for the Sentra community. It's not something I'm doing, it's more something someone else has done. And as you know, the infamous made completely of plastic shifter that we have on these Sentras, the bushing likes to wear out, and then it gets super sloppy, and then it's gonna break and get it out faster than a Tinder girl when they're talking to you. And it's straight up not a good time from what I've heard. So a really cool dude on Facebook has talked to Precision Works, and they have agreed to make a billet shifter assembly for us. So you have to pre-order, and we need 15 pre-orders for them to actually go into production and start designing and making the part. It is $395 to do so, and it's completely refundable. I haven't done it yet for the reasons of A, I don't have that kind of money right now. B, I have nowhere to put that shifter right now. And C, I don't have that car to put that in right now. So unfortunately, I cannot contribute to you guys, and I fucking hate saying something like that because of how it might make me look. But just think about that completely plastic assembly being placed with a billet metal assembly, how notchy and mechanical it's going to feel. It's going to be fucking awesome, especially if you add the, I believe it's the Fidanza short throw shifter kit. Oh my God. I remember, I'll never forget how mind blown I was when I installed the short throw shifter for the first time in my Sentra, like just just how short and notchy the shifts became. If it's that notchy from the factory with that metal shifter and then you add the short throw kit onto it, it's gonna be such a fucking joy to drive. I truly wish I could get that, but I don't exactly have a car to put that in. And she's automatic and staying that way, sorry. But definitely go to Precision Works. I will be putting that link into the description below. If you are truly interested in it, go fucking get it. Like I said, it has to be 15 pre-orders. I typically average maybe 30, maybe 50 views on each video. So everyone that watches my videos and cares about Sentras, there should definitely be enough people to get that shifter made. And considering how difficult it has been to get companies to make parts for us, this is definitely a please do it type thing. And I say difficult to get parts for us because with as niche of a community as the Sentra community is, I've seen someone before posted onto the Facebook page for the Sentras that they were talking to someone for getting aftermarket stuff made, and they needed like 30 fucking pre-orders, and then maybe 5 people actually pre-ordered. So they chopped that in half. Now it's only 15 people. Please absolutely go out and do it. I definitely want to see that done. Because just because I don't have a Sentra now does not mean I won't get one later in the future. I can't say I haven't looked at a Sentra, but I also can't say that I'm not a little bit scared to get another one because of upside down and try to burn me to a crisp. So without further ado, that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and see you later.